Hi, thanks for coming. I'd like to tell you the story of the pundit and the milkmaid. There once was a famous pundit. Pundit means that he knew the scriptures. But knowing the scriptures is not always a sign of your spiritual elevation. It can be, if knowing the scriptures goes with experience. Such a person is called a jnana yogi, a person who becomes realized through knowledge. But he was very busy. People came to see him. And he always had some hot tea in the morning made with milk. And there was a milkmaid that he paid to bring him milk every morning. His schedule got pretty busy, and so he asked the milkmaid, who had to come from the village across the river by way of the boat. There was no bridge. So he said he wanted her to come earlier at sunrise. And she agreed to that because he paid well and nice and generous. So she went back to her village. And in the morning she got up and she helped her father, who was ill, get ready for the day, and she milked the cow, and all this before sunrise. And she was hurrying to the river, but to her dismay, the boatman hadn't started working yet. Finally, the boatman came just as the sun was coming up. She went across the river, but the pundit was very upset. His nickname was Deepy. Deepy said, "Hey, didn't I ask you to come before just at sunrise? It's a few minutes afterwards. I've got people coming. You'll have to do better than this." And she says, "Well, the boatman was," and she says, "I don't really care about that. We all have jobs we have to do." Have you heard of bosses like that? Wow. Anyway, but he was a good customer, and she says, "Well, what can I do?" He says, "When the boatman's not there." He says, "Oh, well, call on the name of God. For all I care." He just was a throw off. But the milkmaid listened to him. Sometimes God makes his appearance in strange ways. So she went away and she thought about that. The next morning she came with the milk again. Again the boatman hadn't come. But this time she knew a mantra. Just half of it. There's a mantra called Hare Rama. So she said, "Well, okay, I'm ready." So she started chanting half of it. Hardy, hardy, hardy. She felt elevated. She walked on the water across the river. Deepy, the pundit, was very happy to get his milk. And he says, "Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. See, that wasn't that hard, was it? You just made the effort." She says, "Yes, I did." And as she was about to go, the boatman says, "Well, how, the boatman was there, everything?" She says, No, but I did exactly what you said." The pundit said, "Well, what did I say?" He had forgotten already what he had said. But there was something special about this milkmaid, as he was about to find out. She said, "Well, I took the name of God and walked across the water." "You did?" "Oh, you've got to show me." So he went down to the river with her. And she took her, the boatman still hadn't come, so she said, "Hardy." She took her milk thing, put it on her head, and started calling, "Hardy, Hardy, Hardy," and walked across the water. The pundit, Deepy, was completely surprised. And he said to her, "Well, do you think that if I did that, I would walk?" She said, "Sure, it's easy." And he, by the way, this is how Jesus walked on the water. They never tell in the Bible how he did it. But he took the name of God. You know, he was in India and he learned this secret. So Deepy was about to get on the water when he had a very expensive silk dhoti, which is a type of dress they wear, the men do. And he was worried that he would get water on it. So he was about to step on the water. He picked up his dhoti, so it was high up. And he started to walk out. He said, "Hardy, Hardy, is my dhoti getting wet?" And of course, it was. He was in the water. And he jumped out and says, "It didn't work for me." And the woman across the way, the milkmaid, said, "Well, of course it didn't, Deepy. You were thinking you were dhoti rather than Hari." The question comes about the milkmaid. How did she know that? There is, in India, a saying, "It is better to do your own work well than poorly than somebody else's work well." This is the whole idea of dharma, or righteous work. Because of her situation, the milkmaid was doing her best to follow the dharma of her life, which was to look after her father and to support everybody. That self-surrender to that work brought her to a state of realization. So there are stories like this that illustrate a complex set of things that happen. The religion has been in India for so long that there are illustrations of the complexities of karma and the law of attraction and the mantras and their use and how you bring things to you and push things away. Nobody has even a catalog of all the things that are possible. There's new things you can learn every day about the Vedas. Thank you for listening.